Hi, Church. Pastor Jeff here with another Trinity check-in. I have things for you today. You know, we're doing the Prepare the Way campaign right now in hopes of building a sanctuary. And we've had all sorts of groups in our church working together to create our worship experiences the past few weeks and for the next few. It has been fantastic to watch, but all of it with the goal of saving up enough money that we can build a sanctuary out on the hill. It's exciting. It's following God's call, but almost more than that, I can feel the momentum. Like there's a difference in our church community right now. There's definitely an excitement and a building up of a wave is what it feels like, and it makes me so happy to see. The first few weeks of this, we started with building ourselves, building us as a community. As I keep saying, you have to build the church, the people, before you can build a sanctuary. But now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty, and that involves a lot of details. So I want to start today by making sure that all of you received the email with the detail brochure in it. We put together a brochure. It has the potential floor plans for when we're able to build. But I think the most important part of that brochure is actually the frequently asked questions section, because we have gotten all sorts of questions and we're still getting good questions from you all, but I think a lot of them are answered by those two dense pages, and I really hope you'll take a look because I want you to know what's going on. We actually sent out 2 emails earlier this week, one of them just with the detail brochure in it, the other one was the tower that had it at the top. If you receive this video by email, you'll have it in there too, and I know that sometimes emails go to spam, so we're putting it out more than once. You should also know that this is one that we're going to be sending out by postal mail. That will go out first of the week, and we're doing the best we can to make sure that those get delivered. So if you'd rather have a paper copy, wait a few days. Or if you can't wait a few days, stop by the office and we'd be happy to print you one. But I do hope you'll look. Okay, that's one. 2 more things. The second one is that the campaign chair, Joshua Berry, and I put together a video talking about the campaign, talking about the process that got us here, and it also answers a lot of those detailed questions. And the interview that we did, the conversation that we had, is being shown in our growth groups and in our UWF circles and all around the various groups of the church. However, I want to make sure everyone has a chance to see it, whether you're in a group or not. So, at the end of what I'm saying right now, I'm going to play that video. Now, it's a little longer than these videos usually are. It's 13 or 14 minutes, I think. But I do hope you'll watch it because it's a fun conversation, but also helps you be a little more on the inside with everything that we've been doing and the plans we've been putting together, and I think you'll feel better after seeing it. The third thing, then, is the Advance Commitments Gathering. So, as a church, we're going to make our pledges to the campaign on April 13. That's Palm Sunday. You're going to be hearing more about that over a couple weeks, and eventually we'll have pledge cards to you as well. We really want you to think before you write a number down. That's why we haven't sent the pledge cards yet, but we will soon. However, we have invited some people in the church to come to a gathering that's this Monday evening at 6 o'clock. It's at one of our church members' homes, and inviting them to make their commitment early. I'm actually one of them. I was on the invite list and I didn't even know that was going to happen, and I'm glad that I am because I want to make my commitment early. So if you've been invited to that, I hope you're able to make it, but we also want to extend an invitation to anyone else who'd like to come. If you'd like to make your commitment early, if you'd like to come to the gathering, please let us know. If you let us know in the office, we'll get you the information of where and when that's happening. It's Monday evening, as I say, and it will be a good time and a celebration, and hopefully it will build even more momentum for what we're doing here. So there is so much going on that's good. This campaign really does seem to be raising the tide of the church. I don't know. I guess I think of it a little bit like a tsunami, except tsunamis are like destructive. This is like a good tsunami, right? And it feels like the water is doing this. Like it's the beginning of the wave, and it feels like we're on the edge of something much bigger in the very good and best possible way. And I am so happy to be on this journey with you, and I hope that you feel it too. So, look for the brochure. If you'd like to come to Advance Commitments, you're welcome to. Let us know in the office and we'll get you the information. In the meantime, Let's together watch that video that Joshua and I put together. I hope you'll watch, and if you have any questions we don't answer, please ask. You can reply to the email that this came in, or send us a message in any way, and we will answer it as best we can. See you soon, church. A good service this Sunday planned too. Hi church, Pastor Jeff here, but not with a Trinity check-in. This is a special video for the Prepare the Way campaign, and I know that the groups in our church are taking time out of what they normally do, and we really appreciate it. I am here with Joshua Berry, who was and is our building committee chair and our capital campaign chair. He's a fantastic leader. I know a lot of you don't know him, so Joshua, tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Jeff. Joshua Berry, my wife Tricia, and I have been members here for the last several years, along with our 4 kids. Grew up all over, but have called Lincoln home for the last 25 years now. And I'm extremely excited to continue to work with such an incredible team of leaders here on this campaign.
Yeah, okay, so we started this roughly 2.5 years ago, something like that, with a bit of an exploratory committee. And I will never forget that when I asked Joshua to be the building committee chair, I knew we needed a strong leader, and his answer made me instantly know that he was the right one.
What did I say?
Do you remember what it was?
No.
You're against building.
That is true. That is true. I've been a part of these before and have been the anti-building person.
Yeah.
So yes.
There's a classic book that he already knew called When Not to Build.
True.
And so for the first year, we asked the question, do we need something? And what do we need? What would that look like? And we came out with kind of a solid, we're a growing church that's bursting at the seams. There's lots of reasons, too many to go through in a short video. But we spent the next year as not an exploratory committee, but a proper building committee. You want to talk about what we did?
Yeah, I think it is important to say, in my day job, it is consulting businesses on trying to make wise decisions. And so I was convinced by the end of our time that exploring the need for greater space for not only the sanctuary, but also for childcare, as well as all the community groups that help with the space, was absolutely something we should look at. And really that whole year after the exploratory group was spent going and interviewing not only the other leaders here, but also getting to know the demographics of the community, some of the patterns that we've seen here, seeing the strength of this church in comparison to even other trends that are happening nationally, and then starting to understand how we could prioritize some of those needs so that we were identifying truly those things that seem to be the most impactful, because we knew towards the end of it that costs were going to be high, and we needed to make sure that we were focusing on those things that would have the greatest impact for the future.
Yeah, you should have seen what I called the kitchen sink plan that had everything we wanted in it. We had rooms for everything you can imagine, and it was nice. It was a good design.
Yeah.
It's not like globbed together like the word kitchen sink might imply. But we knew that we weren't going to be able to afford a lot of single-use rooms, that it had to be space that was shared. And honestly, that's more efficient and a better use anyway. But we brought in BVH architects, and they're the ones who designed this building. Went back and forth with them in their design process, ended up bringing in Samson Construction. Do you want to talk about the moment Samson came back to us?
So Samson came back, and this was already the pared down version that we had.
Yeah.
And we were surprised. The number was pennies short of $12 million.
Actually, their first one was like 14 or so. I don't know. It was more than 12.
It was more than that. We continued to prioritize what some of the things were that were truly needed. And I think the reality sunk in of just how expensive building is nowadays around here, even for something that we saw was modest, thinking about not only the interior but the exterior.
I take my kids to I take one of my kids to Moore Middle School. I do the pickup every day, and I watch the construction and the homes going up. And like that, it's supply and demand. That's what it is to live in a growing community. The fact that we need a building also means that building is expensive. I mean, that's kind of the reality of how it makes sense.
Yeah. So we very prayerfully considered with those numbers and bringing it not only to the church council, but to others to understand, and then obviously the vote to all of you, to say, should we even consider going forward with this? And it still feels like, as we're stepping forward in faith, that it makes sense that we pursue, and we'll talk about this in a moment, the first of what will be a couple of campaigns to be able to start to breathe life into this project.
The current building was built with 3 campaigns. That's pretty common for church buildings. We kind of realized that this one might even take 4. I mean, maybe not if we keep growing.
Absolutely.
Donations, we're already having some, I've had some amazing conversations that I can't go into here, but you never know. It might end up being less. And what church council and then the church as a whole decided in October was that it's worth taking the step out in faith, that this is something we need, this is something we feel called to. So even though it's a lot, even though it's a lot to bite off, let's do it. Let's do it.
So one of the things, I think one of the goals of this first campaign is it was given to us as a best practice. It's not a hard line, but definitely a best practice from UBT that we have about a third of the cash in hand before we would build. And so
that'd be $4 million.
So about $4 million is where we're at. We're looking at that $3 to $4 million as a target goal for the first part of this campaign. And so it is a little bit interesting because we're having to figure those things out. I will say, though, when we learned during that meeting that was probably the best case scenario was to get the $3 to $4 million in hand, we also learned that UBT was quite excited to help us out with the financing of this. And obviously we need to do due diligence and all of those things, but I thought that was a good affirmation for this
Very
work.
much. And I hear that was a problem when this building was built. Collateral was not as good as it is now. UBT was not as experienced at church lending. And many people have told me of a moment when the bankers were walking around and they said, well, I suppose we could turn it into a fitness center. And of course everybody's like, but he was serious because the bank has to have a plan. They can't justify the loan if they don't have it. This time, however, it's different. This building is paid off. We have really good. So the point is, I don't want to scare anybody. The point is, it's much more solid this time as we look at it. And hopefully all of you have received your detail brochure and you've seen the frequently asked questions that's in it, and this is in here. But if we can raise at least 3 with this initial campaign. We have a plan. It's not through all the red tape yet, but we're hoping that the child care can, over a life of a loan, contribute about $3 million as well. And then 2 more campaigns, if they're close to the same amount, there we are. When I put that, it looks so simple on here, but when I put that together, I'm like, oh, that math actually adds up.
And we don't have to wait until the end of all those campaigns to build, once we have that amount in hand. So I think
if we could build at the end of this first campaign, that would be would be awesome.
That's the goal that we're looking forward to. And work is already in progress, as Jeff had mentioned, of having conversations with lead givers, with our Horizons consultant Norma, to be able to understand what the best practice is to be able to help us increase the probability that we can meet these goals.
And like I say, a lot of our church's financial leaders have already stepped up and made commitments that have just made me go like, I mean, I've had some fantastic conversations, and I know that there are more to come. This is happening in a very good way, and it's exciting. So the way the campaign works is that we have a commitment Sunday coming up on April 13. This video is going to be watched by groups at different times, so I kind of hate to go through the whole schedule. Some have already made commitments. We're going to have opportunities for others to make commitments ahead of time, but the big one will be on April 13, and that's Palm Sunday. So you can come for pancakes for the youth and to bring your commitment, and then that will go. Then that commitment is over the course of 3 years. And there are lots of ways you can think about that. There's more information that can be found. And you know what? There's creative ways to give, too, whether it be assets, whether it even real estate. We've had some conversations. If you're interested in that, we have information in the office.
Yeah. I think as a couple other things I wanted to make sure were shared. One is you see some pictures and some blueprints, or at least some high-level designs that are in that detailed brochure. That is not the finalized thing. We have not voted on that yet. There's definitely some of the priorities that we talked about before that are starting to be in consideration that helped us with those cost estimates. But the decisioning on what the final building would look like and all that would be yet to come.
If we're not breaking ground yet, why commit to a plan?
Absolutely.
I mean, you never know what could
more
change.
money to do that. So
yeah, and we've also had questions like, why don't we dig out the rest of the hill? Wouldn't we regret it if we didn't? So if you read your brochure, we've got some information on that of what it would take. So like all of these things. And there's a process for deciding that too that involves votes by the entire church and even assurances of notification to make sure everybody knows. So all of that will be worked out as we go along.
Yeah. I think before we close it up, I mean, we've talked a lot about process work as we've been going through it. I just wanted to zoom us back out again to vision. And you mentioned it before, the anti-builder Joshua, who was helping lead this up, and why I'm passionate about the pursuit of this right now. And that's really thinking about the state of things in the world today, and thinking about why our family decided to come here. It was because of the feeling of inclusion and belongingness that we felt from this family, and how that is so important to be a beacon for Christ's universal love in not only in our community, but especially in South Lincoln. And so the opportunity to continue to build into, I mean, a building is a building, the people who can continue to grow and fill and then come out from here into the world to bring that love is what excites me about this for the generations to come.
I was talking with another pastor the other day about how few churches there are in South Lincoln that have a truly inclusive, broad view of who God is and how much that is needed. And here we are. We have an opportunity to be that voice. Really, God is that voice, but we have the opportunity to be part of that, and it's pretty awesome. All right, can I tell my story?
Go tell your story.
Okay. One question I've gotten a number of times, well, 3, but that's enough so far, is this the right time to build? Because we look at what's going on in the world, we look at the chaos in the world around us and how unstable things seem and feel right now. And I hear you. I've had my moments too, and that's what's led to that question of, is this the right time to build? I have had a couple of friends from Boston Avenue United Methodist in Tulsa, Oklahoma. One of them I went to seminary with, one was a meteorologist I used to work with, who's there now, of all things. And it's this beautiful Art Deco building. If you want to go to their website, it's really beautiful. And you can read their history too. It's like pink marble. Not sure I would have made quite that, but it is beautiful, right? And they built it, and they had their first worship service 4 months before the stock market crash in 1929. So here they are in this place where they're in the debt, in deep debt to have built this. Oil money, so even more affected by the Depression than most were. And they were wondering if they had made a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake. Well, the bankers came in and they were about to foreclose on their church, on their building. Wow. And they said they were going to turn it into a movie theater. Fitness center's not seeming so bad, right? Yes, I set that up earlier. Well, they brought in a new pastor, and what that pastor said was, we need to pay off the debt for this building, and we need to start supporting a missionary in, I forget where, somewhere overseas.
Wow,
and they're
double
like,
down on it.
More money? How are we going to do that? But what it did was it reminded the church why they were there. It reminded them of their mission, and they ended up paying off the building with no problem. It inspired them and reminded them who they were. When I look at the instability in our world right now, that's the mission. Is this the right time to do more church? Yes, because the world needs it more than ever, because we need it more than ever. Maybe this is too bold of me to say, but maybe it's not even a coincidence that this opportunity is before us now because of how much it's needed. So, once again, thank you all for watching this video with your group, for taking time out, and I hope you'll consider what God is calling you to do in the midst of all this, because it is a tremendous blessing to be part of.
Thank you.
Thank you.